Okay, let's go ahead and get started with our webinar today. Today's topic for Wellness Wednesday is macronutrients. Specifically, we're going to talk about counting macronutrients, why that's a good idea, and what they what they do in the body for us. So, this is a great topic. It's kind of a little bit specific for people who are interested in following this type of plan to reach your own personal fitness and health goals. So hopefully we'll give some great information as we go through the presentation today. Before we get started, sorry, I thought the audio was being a little funny. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay. Before we get started, I want to give you just a little bit of housekeeping like we always do, which is you get 5 points of health promotion credit for participating in today's webinar. So that will be added to your account a little bit later today, so you can watch for that. And then again, as always, make sure you ask us any questions you have through the questions panel or the chat feature, because we love to interact with you that way. If this topic leaves you with some specific questions that you really would like some help answering, I would invite you to call us here at Oriant. Anyone, whether you use a health coach or not, is welcome and invited to speak with one of our health coaches so we can talk you through the specifics for you just a little bit more closely. So, anyway, with all that being said, I want to introduce our presenter today. Our presenter is Lisa Lowe. She is a longtime Oriant employee. You've probably seen her at your health assessment because she travels all throughout the country running our on-site health assessments. She's a fitness guru. She practices what she preaches when it comes to macronutrients, and I'm going to have her introduce herself a little bit more, and then she'll get started with the presentation. Can you hear me okay, Lisa?
I sure can. Can you hear me?
Yes, that's always my biggest stress, is can we hear everything? So sounds like we're working, which is good.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. Well, Lisa, tell us about yourself. Tell us why this is a great topic for you and why you're qualified to teach it, and then go ahead and jump on in for us.
All right, great. Well, I'm really happy to be with you guys today. I've always been a highly active person, but my fascination with wellness started about 12 years ago when my husband and I participated in a program that helped us focus on fine-tuning our eating habits and making time for exercise. And this program that we did sparked something inside of me. And after completing it, I realized I wanted to help others learn what I had. And that led me to the decision to go back to school and obtain a national certification in personal training. And I've really loved helping individuals with their fitness and nutrition goals. And because I received this education, I was able to start working for Oriant, which I absolutely love doing. And I have really enjoyed learning about the corporate wellness side of things. The intrigue in wanting to learn about macronutrients came from a dear friend of mine that has been in the fitness industry for about 40 years, and she shared her success with it. And she gave me all the information that she had on it, helped me learn how to get started, and the rest is history. So for the last 2.5 years, I've been counting my macros daily and have seen some amazing effects from doing so. And I'm really excited to share some things with you today about macronutrients and how to get started counting them.
Great, Lisa. Thank you. We're really excited. And I just have to say, for all of you listening, she really does this. I spend a lot of time with Lisa, and I see her calculating her macros, making good choices, following it all, and she's legit. So we all have a lot we could learn to be like Lisa.
So nice.
Did I embarrass you? Anyway, go ahead, Lisa. Jump in and tell us what you got. I'm excited for it.
All right. Well, I thought I would start by posing the question of, should you count macronutrients or should you just count calories, and what are the benefits from that? Controlling your diet is extremely important when it comes to having success with any kind of health and wellness goal. And two important factors in maintaining that control, of course, are calories and macronutrients, as they kind of form the baseline of this whole process. Most of us pay more attention to calorie counting than macros because it's more highly recognized and it's more talked about, and people just kind of associate that with losing weight. Many people are familiar with the concept of maintaining diet control with the whole calories in, calories out approach. as it's been drilled into us that if we consume a lower number of calories, then we'll lose weight from it. So while counting calories has its place in maintaining your overall health, macronutrients has also been gaining a lot of popularity as a tool for maintaining, gaining, and losing weight. So something to keep in mind is when you only count calories, it can leave you hungry and even lead to overeating. And because nutrition density plays a big part in this, foods that are higher in calories are not always as dense or filling. So for example, 200 calories of broccoli florets is going to be a much bigger portion size and more beneficial to eat than say 200 calories of a tiny piece of chocolate cake. With macros, you'll find that you have more flexibility with your food choices, and that as the macronutrients work together, they'll provide you with that feeling of not being hungry all the time. So to choose one over another is not really what I want to focus on today, but just teaching you that calories and macros are just like diet and exercising. They're kind of a team, and that's because macronutrients make up calories. This makes them inseparable because they really don't exist one without the other. It's really the perfect combination. Yeah.
Can I ask you a question about this? Since you've been counting your macros so regularly, do you find these benefits working for you? Like, did your satiety increase once you started balancing your meals better, once you started making sure you were hitting your macro goals? Did you find, oh, this is way better than just counting calories because I get hungry when I count calories?
Absolutely. And the main reason for that was because I learned that when you eat these things in combinations, because carbs digest faster than a protein and a fat, if you're eating all three of them together, then your digestive system is working at different times. And so that food lasts longer in you, and so you have that fuller feeling. And that's really what was super important to me, is not feeling hungry.
When I talk to people through coaching, often what people tell me is that they really need to work on their portion control, but they find they get hungry when they focus on portion control. So this is probably going to be something that can be helpful to someone who feels that way, that I need to eat less or watch my portions, but I just get darn hungry all the time.
Absolutely. Yep, exactly.
Great.
All right, so I'm kind of going to moving quickly through some of the points in this presentation, and some of the information you might already be familiar with. So just keep in mind what Anne said earlier about if you have some questions that maybe we don't get answered today, and you would like some additional information, use that resource of calling and talking to the health coaches. That will be really beneficial for you. So knowing what those three components are that make up macronutrients is a great place for us to start today. Each nutrient is associated with a recommended percentage of intake, and there's a number of calories associated with each gram too. This is the part that will probably be a review, but I feel it's important to quickly go over as they're the main components of this diet. So carbohydrates should become like 40 to 60% of your daily intake, and they are the main source of energy for our bodies. And 1 gram of carbohydrates is equal to 4 calories. Protein should consist of about 10 to 35% of your diet, and 1 gram of protein is also equivalent to 4 calories. It's recommended that 20 to 35% of your total daily calories should come from fat, with less than 10% of that coming from saturated fats. And keep in mind that 1 gram of fat is equal to 9 calories. So there's your 3 macronutrients. So let's talk about each one of them just for a little bit. But before we do that, I'd like to share an analogy with you that I learned from my nutrition professor in school, because it really puts into context how important it is in making sure that we have enough nutrients in our body. So I'd like you to think about a car and what fuels a car. It runs on gasoline for it to be able to function and perform the way we like it to. If you think about your body, we're much like a car in that we need a fuel source as well. Carbohydrates are our main source of energy or fuel for our body. And if we deprive ourselves of an adequate amount of carbs, then it's like running around in a car with only half a tank of gas. Eventually, we'll run low on fuel and stop working. Now, protein and fats are just as important because their role is much like oil in the car. Oil keeps things lubricated and moving smoothly so the car is functioning properly, and it works alongside with the gasoline to make sure that your engine doesn't seize up or quit on you. So naturally, protein and fats would play the same role for us in our bodies. If we don't utilize all three of them at the same time, you'll see a difference, and it's usually not a good one. Carbs, protein, and fats work together and are required for maintaining that balance in the body, just like gas and oil in a car. So as we talk about carbs, we know that many of them are found in foods that we like, such as breads and cereals, beans, nuts, fruits, and vegetables, while many of the sweets we enjoy also enjoy the sweets we enjoy also fall into this category. So carbohydrates are the preferred source of energy in our brain, heart, and central nervous system. And when it comes to choosing what types of carbs are the best for you, keep in mind that things that are in their most natural state are going to be the most beneficial. I like to think of things that are fresh from the ground, the vine, or the branch as those things in a natural state. You may have heard carbs categorized as whole or refined. Whole carbs are things like vegetables, whole fruits, legumes, potatoes, and whole grains, and these things are unprocessed and contain the fiber that is naturally found in the food. These foods are generally healthy, and while whole food sources of carbohydrates are loaded with nutrients and fiber, they also don't cause spikes and dips in our blood sugar levels. So, on the other hand, refined carbs have been processed and modified and from their natural state, and the fiber has been stripped out of it. This could include sugar-sweetened beverages, fruit juices, pastries, white bread and pasta, and rice. So remember that refined carbohydrates are usually lacking in essential nutrients. So in other words, they're like empty calories. And they tend to cause major spikes in your blood sugar level, which leads to a subsequent crash and can trigger hunger and cravings for more high-carb foods. So the bottom line here with carbs is when you're looking for carbohydrates to track as macronutrients, you need to remember that not all carbs are created equal. It's not to say that you can't have something sweet or a little more processed. It just means that you'll want to eat as many complex good carbs as you can each day. Okay, let's talk about protein. When you learn what your macronutrient requirements are regarding protein, you'll most likely see that you need to increase your protein from what you have been eating, because most people aren't getting enough in their diet. Studies have shown that eating a high protein diet has a number of benefits. Not only is it essential when trying to lose or maintain weight, it is especially important to physically active individuals whose muscle tissue is constantly in need of repair from weightlifting and other forms of strenuous exercise. It also works to stabilize your blood sugar levels. It improves your ability to learn and concentrate. It can reduce brain fog, and it supports your bones and muscles and absorption of all these important nutrients that we need. Complete proteins include all 20 of the amino acids that our body requires, and they're found in animal products such as meat, eggs, and milk. So when you're looking for protein source, you may want to focus on things that are a little more complex. Basically, the take-home message with protein is that it plays a crucial role in the body, and it includes building, maintaining, and repairing body tissue. What I like the most about protein is that it keeps you feeling fuller longer, and it creates that satiety you need so that you can go longer between meals and not be feeling hungry all the time. And because, as Coach Ann says, the going hungry plan never works, right?
Yeah, seriously, I fail that diet every time I think that's going to be my plan. Which is why calorie counting sometimes doesn't work, because you run out of calories, you run out of budget, and you're still hungry, so then you have to go with the going hungry plan, and
yeah, it's not a good one.
Yeah, not for me. I like to eat, apparently.
I think we all do. Okay, so with fats, there's a misconception about fat that it is always bad for you. But in fact, fat is essential to our diet for maintaining a healthy body. But the trick is to eat more of the good fats and less of the bad fats. They provide an energy reserve for our bodies, and they insulate and protect our vital organs. And they also aid in the transport of fat-soluble vitamins like vitamin A, D, E, and K. It's important to pay attention to the types of fats we consume. Unsaturated fats should be the primary source of our fat consumption, and those things include like lean fish, salmon, tuna, trout, some seeds, nuts, and avocados, and oils that are liquid at room temperature are good. Try to avoid the saturated fats. Now, these are things such as red meats and full-fat dairy products and oils that are solid at room temperature, like butter. It's recommended that 20 to 35% of our total daily calories come from fat, with less than 10% of that coming from the saturated fats. So fats play a crucial part in controlling and regulating our hormones. They boost our immune system, and they reduce inflammation. And they also make your food taste really good. And who doesn't like that? Okay, so we've talked a little bit about the specifics of the 3 macronutrients. And the next step in getting started is calculating how many of those nutrients you will need for your goals. And because there's a wide range of percentages involved, the best way to do this is to use a macro calculator. There are a variety of options when it comes to choosing a calculator, but I would recommend using one that's free, and we've listed a few options here for you. And I'd like to talk about the one that is from healthyeater.com, only because it's the one that I'm most familiar with. The reason I like this one is because it is simple to use. It pretty much walks you through step by step of what you need to do. It will help you calculate your optimal macronutrient ratios based on your 5 factors, and those are your age, your height, your weight, gender, and activity level. This particular calculator also allows you to select a lean mass option where you can enter your body fat percentage in. And the advantage of doing that is that it uses a formula that factors specific body fat percentage into the equation, and it gives you a more accurate calculation of what your macros should be. But don't feel like you're tied to using the lean mass option, because you can always go with the normal formula and you'll still get a really accurate count as well. On a side note, if you've participated in a health assessment recently, you should have some numbers from that on a piece of paper that you got on the day of your assessment. If you can't find those numbers, you should be able to view your most recent biometric scores, and those are available on your Oriant account. So you can find those by clicking on My Health Scores if you're interested in that.
Lisa, I did this to compare mine. When I went through healthyeater.com and, was figuring out my numbers, and I'm putting in my age and height and weight. I clicked the normal formula, and then I clicked the lean body mass formula, and it came out about 200 calories different per day, and the macros were slightly different too. So it was pretty interesting that knowing your body fat percentage really can give you a little bit different guidelines to shoot for.
It can. And that lean mass percentage really hones in on those that maybe don't have more than 10 pounds to lose. So depending where you are in your fitness, that would be the difference, as whether you're deciding to do the normal or the lean mass, because it really is just kind of honing in a little bit tighter for you.
So really, probably either way, you're going to get results, but if you're really kind of in that last little bit where it gets a little extra tricky to get your body to cooperate with you, then using that formula will be more helpful.
Yes, exactly.
Awesome.
All right, so when you enter in all the information, it's going to throw a lot of numbers out at you. The first one you'll see at the top of the page is going to be a total number of calories. And then each macronutrient will be listed below with a number of grams associated with it. But next to the grams, it will also give you a percentage, so you'll know exactly where in your piece of the pie puzzle you're fitting in with each macro. The first thing that you're going to wonder about the total amount of calories, and because we spent so many years thinking that we need to have a calorie deficit to lose weight, is that you're going to wonder why this calculator is telling you to eat more calories than what you think you need to. So I'm going to ask you to trust me on this one, because I did the exact same thing and I was very skeptical that it would work. But after doing it for so many years, I'm a firm believer that it does work. So throw caution to the wind, go with the calculator and what it's telling you. And as you get going and spend some time testing and counting out your macros, you will adjust those numbers as needed, but this is a great place to start. And no matter what calculator you decide to go with, once you have your results, you can use them with anything like macro counting, flexible dieting, or any program that will help you lose weight.
Lisa, we have a question coming in that I think it goes well here. And also, I think you're good to answer this one, but likely when you're determining your macros, it is going to give you a protein goal, a number of grams of protein to reach for. And it's likely going to be higher, and I think you may address this, but it's likely going to be higher than maybe what you're currently getting. One of the
Right.
questions someone is asking is what about, are there any problems with consuming a high protein diet, like as pertaining to like kidney failure or kidney problems? Do you want to give us your thoughts on this?
You bet. I'm happy. I'm an expert in this subject.
Yeah, you are. So
Had my kidney removed, the doctor told me, don't let anybody ever tell you that you can't eat high protein. So when you're exercising or the activities that you're doing, or if you're not doing anything and just focusing on your nutrition, the macros is going to base the percentage of the protein that you need based on those 5 factors that we talked about. If your activity level is less active, it's going to gauge it on that. If it's highly active, it's going to gauge it on that. So don't worry that your body won't be able to process it. It's not going to be so extreme that you're going to have issues with it. The problems come when people are really trying to put a lot of muscle mass on, and so they'll go over the, it's usually like 0.8% of every body pound of weight that you have that they're going to calculate it on. People who are building muscle for like competitions or heavy duty weightlifting, they're going to go over 1%. So for what we're doing here with our macros, you should be just fine, and don't worry about it.
Lisa, thank you. I totally can agree with your answer. And then I guess I want to just add in, if you are specifically concerned, then make sure to talk to your doctor about it. You can take your macros and get your doctor's take on it and see what they say. But I think what you're saying makes a lot of sense. So
awesome. Okay. Food measuring is going to be our next step in being successful with our macronutrient goals. And when you learn how to measure the amounts you're eating and getting things right, you're going to grasp the concept of this and see how it's working. Of course, when you're starting a new way of eating, it requires a learning curve, especially when it comes to counting macros and measuring all your portion sizes. You're going to get really good at reading labels because this is a major tool in making sure that you're finding ways to meet the goals of your macros each day. So here's a couple of ways that you can do that. The first option is to use measuring cups. And the second option, which is often referred to as the gold standard of portion control, is using a food scale. Knowing when to use which one can be very helpful. Measuring cups are best for things like pasta, rice, cereal, fruits, and vegetables. Foods that clearly state the serving size, like 1 slice of bread, are going to be easy to track. But if you're going for specifics like a half a cup of oatmeal, then measuring it out is going to be more beneficial than just trying to eyeball it and hope that you're getting it close. One thing I want to point out with measuring cups and making sure you're getting accurate sizes is whether the serving size is pre-cooked or cooked on the label. So as an example, in the case of oatmeal, serving size calls for 1 cup of dry oats, which will actually produce 1 cup of cooked oats. So when you're making sure you're counting the correct measurements, you'll want to ensure that you're tracking the correct amount of food too. When it comes to measuring meats and cheese, a food scale is going to really help with portion control and consistent measurements. For example, I noticed the other day on my package of chicken, it said the serving size was 1 chicken breast, approximately 2 ounces, and the grams associated with that were 12 grams. I could have been content with that and just entered that into my food log, but I noticed that not all the chicken breasts were the same size. So I wanted to test out this theory, and I got my scale, and I took out each piece of chicken to weigh. And you probably already know where I'm going to go with this, but let's just say that each piece was not the same size, so that obviously changed the number of calories and grams associated with it. This solidified in my mind that sometimes we can't trust what is on the label. So I'm a firm believer when it comes to measuring, just because I know that if I do it, it'll be correct. And you'll probably play around with this a little bit and figure things out for yourself like I have. You may feel that using a food scale or measuring cups is going to be really time consuming. And to be honest with you, it kind of is in the beginning. But if you can go into it with the mindset that it's the most beneficial way to stay accurate in your counting, then it becomes a very useful tool. I've been using mine for the last 2 years or so, and it's almost become a game for me, because as you use it, you begin to look at something and know what it'll weigh, and then you feel this great satisfaction from how close you were when you actually weigh it. This becomes helpful when you're eating out and can't take your scale with you. I mean, I guess you could, but I'm not that hardcore, so I don't. Scales are easy to use. They're a great way to get a quick and accurate weight result. With their small and convenient size, they can fit on your countertop or your table, wherever you think would be a convenient place to store it. They're easy to find at stores. There are many choices to pick from that are inexpensive but still reliable, and that's an important factor to me when I'm looking to add a new tool to my kitchen. All right, so let's move on to,
sorry, you were sharing so much good information, so I hesitate to jump in. But I do have a comment about this food scale, and only because I'm going to be the devil's advocate or whatever the word is, but I hate this idea of measuring food. I hate it. So tell me why I have to do it. Like, and how long? Like, is this like forever? Is this just for a while? Or what do you tell those of us who
No.
just like cringe at the thought of measuring what we're eating?
Well, you don't have to measure like every single thing, which is nice. So if you're just looking, like if you're having chicken and broccoli and maybe a side of couscous or something for your dinner, as an example, you would want to make sure you weighed the grams of the chicken. And that's not going to be a hard thing to do. You're just going to stick your chicken right on the thing and it's going to tell you exactly. It might take you 15 seconds. So if it was kind of a hard thing for me to grasp in the beginning, and I was thinking, I'm going to spend so much more time in the kitchen. I just want to eat my food. I'm hungry. Can I just do this? But it might add only 30 seconds on, to your meal time, because you'll get really efficient at it. And with anything, there's a learning curve. And once you get over that learning curve, I don't think it'll be as painful as you think it will be.
Okay, so you're saying just try it. It's really not a big deal. Get over it.
Right.
But the results speak for itself. I mean, really, if you're going to use this method, you want to do it the right way. You don't want to do it halfway, because then you're not going to get the results you're after. So.
Exactly. This might not be the plan for you, but if you are looking for something different and you're willing to invest the time into it, then I think you'll notice that it will make a difference for you.
And I think you and I were talking before this presentation, and you're like, give it like 12 weeks, right? Like, about that long, before you decide if you love it, hate it, see what your results are, because that's a good amount of time to really like know what you've done.
Right. Your body will respond quickly to certain things, but over a long period of time, you really need to let it kind of set into this new schedule that you're putting it on, or what you're doing with your nutrition. So yeah, 12 weeks is really a good, just kind of a baseline time to, say, is this going to work or not going to work for me? But after 1 week, don't quit if you don't see like you've dropped 5 pounds or something, because it's going to be a slower process, and it's going to be more consistent when it is a slower process. Those pounds will stay off a lot easier.
Yeah, slow and consistent is the goal usually. Healthy, it's the healthy goal. So thanks.
Right. No, great questions. All right. This is my favorite part. Our next step is my favorite part of counting macronutrients, and I'm a bit obsessed about it, I guess. But to see the big picture of your eating habits, you need to find a food app or a computer program that will allow you to log your food intake. And there are several options out there to choose from. We've kind of listed 3 of them or 4 of them here for you today. When I started tracking my macronutrients, I decided to use the MyFitnessPal, because I heard a lot of people talk about it, and it was the app that I kind of could figure out the easiest and knew most about, as I had kind of used it with counting calories before. But really, this is a personal choice. So go through each one of them, see which one you feel most comfortable with, and then go with that. It's convenient to have an app that's on your phone so you can track at any time of the day. If you have a smartphone, I would highly recommend doing that. There are so many benefits to having it right there and accessible at any time. And I find that if I track my food when I'm eating it, then it's, if I'm staying up on my numbers, I can say, oh, okay, well, this lunch gave me this % of this, this, and this. Then I can gauge the rest of my day as well and how much I'm going to be able to eat. So there's a lot of benefits to tracking your food intake. It gives you a ton of insight into your eating habits. You'll begin to notice what things you are accustomed to eating, and then you'll be able to tell if they, are these the things that I should be eating? Are they healthy? Are they non-healthy? And then you can make adjustments according to that. Of course, you'll want to continue with healthy habits, as it helps that you don't have to start from scratch in deciding what kinds of food to eat. So if you have oatmeal and an egg and a piece of fruit for banana, like a banana for breakfast, and you're content to do that, eat it every morning. It's not going to matter. Here's the thing that's going to be the game changer for you: tracking consistently. You need to log everything that goes into your mouth. Even a quick nibble of chocolate is important to count. It makes you very aware of what you are eating and actually makes you think twice about what you want to eat. Tracking all the little extras like cream and sugar in your coffee, all the condiments, and especially beverages, that's very important. You might be shocked at how much these forgotten calories can add up at the end of your day. So the key to success on this one is to be diligent, consistent, and accountable for everything you eat. Only logging your food a couple times a week is not going to give you the results that you're looking for.
And Lisa is legit on this. She's tracked 500 days in a row. What's your record right now? What does it tell you?
Today I'm sitting at 571.
I'm so impressed. When you showed me that a few months back, I was blown away. You are you're legit, and it works.
Excessive.
You're committed. Super impressed. Well, Lisa,
Thank you.
we're almost out of time. Do you want to take us through this last slide, and then we're going to probably wrap up, unfortunately.
You bet. You bet. So just quickly, just some other tips that we could leave with you today. Just make sure that you're adjusting as you go along. There is a lot of room for error and trial and error. So make sure that you're allowing yourself to feel like you can play around with these numbers a little bit. Don't be surprised that as things change in your body that you will have to make adjustments. And like I talked about before, if you eat the same things every day and you're okay with that, that's great. But if you're not that kind of a person, then look for ways to increase the types of good foods that you want to incorporate into your diet. And it will make it a lot easier too if you can find things that you like to eat. Meal prep is huge. It can save you money and time. It's a great way to control your portion sizes and ingredients, and it really reduces stress about decisions about what to eat and being rushed to prepare something. I could talk a whole lot about learning how to eat out, but let me just say this. If you know that you'll be eating out in the evening, do everything that you can during the day to leave yourself a few extra grams and calories to enjoy. Be okay with enjoying a meal out and don't stress too much about it. You might go over your macros a little bit, but it's good to cut yourself some slack. Think of the 90%, 10% plan. Eating well 90% of the time will give you an opportunity to splurge a little bit every once in a while. So our time has come and gone really quick here, and before we close this webinar down, I'd like to leave you with just a few last thoughts. Counting your macros is not for everyone. That's why it's good to have lots of options to choose from. Keep searching and learning and figure out what is the right fit for you. If you count your macros and it works for you, know that there's specific backing, scientific backing, and it really is a sustainable diet, and there's a lot of information out there that will tell you that. Because it's flexible and you can have sweets and treats, just make the time to make sure that you're not eating too much of that and you're still focusing on good stuff. If you're choosing to count macros as a dieting tool, remember to keep it well balanced between the 3 macros. get lots of water in your diet too. And remember those micronutrients like vitamins and minerals, because they're important as well. And it may take some time to find that perfect macro combination that fits your needs, but you'll know when you found it. And you'll feel energized, and you're able to tackle your day and workouts, and you'll be achieving your weight goals. So thank you so much for letting me share some of my passion of macronutrients with you. It's been great to be with you, and stay happy and healthy.
Lisa, thank you so much. There's so much good information in this webinar. And the recording of this is going to be available on your account at myoriant.com after today. So if you want to listen to it again, you can download a PDF copy of all the slides and the handout. There was also several questions I didn't throw at Lisa during the webinar, so we will follow up with you via email following the webinar. And also, like I said, if there's specifics that you really want to talk through this with and get some personalized guidance, make sure to call us. We can get you with one of our Oriant Health coaches that can help you figure out what's going to work best for you and your program. So anyway, thank you so much. Join us next month. Our April Wellness Wednesday is on the mind-body connection, talking a little bit about exercise impact on your mental health, a topic I'm super excited about coming up next month. So thanks for joining us. Have a great Wednesday. Stay healthy, and have a good one.